range would be the railway builders' hardest task and greatest achievement. It would cost British lives as well as the lives of many more Indians. One ridge in particular, Bor Ghat, caused the most difficulty. To get locomotives up and over the mountain, the railway builders used dynamite and hand tools, excavating 54 million cubic feet of hard rock. Engineers would produce 3,000 plans to provide 22 bridges and 25 tunnels. Nothing like the constructions at Bor Ghat had ever been undertaken before anywhere in the world. Local railway experts are still excited by the towering achievement of those involved. This is a train that's going from Mumbai to what we used to call Madras.
This was a ghat section, an incline, where because of the difficulty in the terrain, the line could not be built with the same ease as the other lines on the plains. So it was important that this missing link had to be built so that end-to-end connectivity from Mumbai, from Bombay, right up to Madras was possible.
So this effectively is the gateway to southern India. Once you build this line, you can open up the whole of southern India to trade and to all the rest of it. Bor Ghat tested the Victorian engineers to the limit of their skills. With such a steep gradient up these slopes, they had to build a vast reversing station to enable the trains to navigate the mountainside. Welsh and Cornish miners were initially recruited to cut through the mountains, but soon their work was carried out by Indians. They're all so solid, aren't they?
They have to be, yeah.
There's no, you don't feel there's any danger of the sides collapsing or anything?
No, that's never happened.
Yeah. Never happened?
That's never happened.
No? For the workmen, it was dangerous and often lethal work, toiling under a burning sun or being swept away by monsoon rain. The pace of tunnelling was sometimes as slow as 4 feet a month. As a trial of strength and endurance, it was almost biblical.
It took them about 8 years for the entire line to be built, and because it was so hard and lack of technology that we see today made it all the more difficult.
But the clever building, the sort of really intelligent building, are these viaducts, aren't they?
Yes.
These are amazing structures, aren't they?
There's no flat piece of land, so this is the only place. They had no other way of building it.
And these are wooden structures, aren't they?
These are scaffolding, temporary scaffolding for raising the structures.
Like all Indian construction sites of the time, women and children used head baskets to carry rubble away. Accidents were common, and the real cost of this engineering project should be measured in human lives. In 1861, over 40,000 people were employed on the project. 4,000 were killed in accidents. That's 1 in 10.
Accidents have happened and people have fallen to death from there. Even while constructing these tunnels like this, they had to come down from the cliff and they couldn't walk there. So they had to be suspended and the ropes have broken, and it has been recorded that they fell to their death.
According to records, 3 native workmen were considered to be worth 1 European, in usefulness as well as replacement value. There was no room for moral indignation. This was a matter of pounds, shillings, and pence. British investors raised the vast sums of money that were needed for this project, but they got a guaranteed return of 5%. And when the subcontinent was opened up to trade, British business made vast profits. To the Indian nationalists, it was imperialism at its worst. They had gained from the wages of sin. Fatal risks were taken, and even if British engineers stood a better chance, they were often unlucky. On this hillside are the remains of a British cemetery close to the Borgat line. There's a graphic reminder of how accident and disease took their toll. Malaria and cholera were the most frequent killers, with even the fittest of men cut down in their prime. Well, in affectionate remembrance of Charles Henry. Will the memory fade? Well, it has faded. Oh, this is sad. In memory of Edward, the dearly loved child of Charles and Edith, who departed this life aged 4 years, almost certainly from the fever. That's the terrible scourge of this part of the world at that time. One engineer was Solomon Treadwell. He started his career with Brunel, building the steamship Great Eastern, before heading to India to work at Borgat. From an established family of British railway contractors, Treadwell arrived with his wife and children at Bombay in October 1859 to start work at Borgat. But he died just 1 month later. You see, the problem was that when the fever gripped a construction camp, they didn't know that it was going to be so virulent, and that proved just a terrible, terrible killer. Solomon's wife Alice took over with 2 young children, and despite having no engineering experience, she became the project manager. So much had been invested, and payment only came at the end. But she still completed this section against all the odds, on time and under budget. Pioneers like Alice Treadwell are the forgotten few who saw this project through. I wonder, without the local workmen and the single-minded colonials in charge, could anyone have ever managed to complete such a task?
The Britishers who got this project done, they would have cajoled them, they would have forced them, they would have used all sorts of things to make it happen. At the end of it, the line was constructed and the train ran, and people who were walking up the ghats on foot, they were able to sit in a train and have a comfortable journey. So the fruits were good, the fruits were sweet. So somebody has to put in efforts, and some people have to had to give their lives. But I guess that happens in all sorts of projects, this not being any exception.
The railway builders refused to be daunted, whatever the difficulties. This was a truly pioneering era. They were in a headlong rush to prove that even faced with the extremes of India, technology that was the best in the world would finally win through. Never, though, anywhere else did the Victorian engineers have to overcome problems on such a scale as they encountered in India. 100 trains a day now pass through Borgat. Any sense of bitterness at the brutal way in which these projects were forced through has now faded. The railways made cities possible. Delhi became the nation's new capital, and Bombay an industrial powerhouse. Along the rail lines, whole communities live and work just a few meters from the tracks. Their forebears first built these railways, and now they work in the associated industries, sustained by this river of rail running through their midst. From the trains, 4,000 bed sheets, 2,000 blankets, and 5,000 pillows need washing every day. Thousands of portions of food are prepared every morning. A local journalist, Rajendra